Hello, this is Gunjan Bhagla of Amritt Inc. And today I'm speaking with Paul Sterngold. Paul was a senior executive at a major entertainment software company when he decided to work with a number of Indian partners and vendors. Uh, and Paul, thank you so much for taking part in this conversation. Um, you'll recall that over the years, you worked with a number of Indian suppliers, partners in your business, and you negotiated deals that ran into the multiple millions of dollars with each of them. I wonder if you can give us a sense of how it was to negotiate with these companies and how it was to see them deliver to the promise that you expected.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me today, Gunjan. It's my pleasure to be here and to answer your question. So in general, the process was straightforward. But I think one of the key things we learned going through the process was that, as with many vendors, they're very eager to please. And so you're going to get a lot of very positive responses, and you really have to probe for the details and the specifics in what they're telling you. That's really how you'll be able to assess which of their answers are based on experience and legitimate hard-earned knowledge, and which of them are aspirational.
I like the word aspirational as you put it.
Yeah. And have a critical eye on their level of expertise and experience in the specific domain that you're looking into. But having said that, based upon our work with Amritt, we actually found a supplier whose experience level wasn't that great, but they had some what we felt was transferable experience in adjacent categories.
Right.
And so we took a risk on them and found this particular organization to be very quick learners with a high capacity for continual improvement. And so things may have been a little rough at the beginning, but they very rapidly learned, corrected, and were delivering excellent results in short order.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, you and I traveled to India a number of times. I remember visiting the city of Pune in Western India. We also spent time in Bangalore in Southern India. Do you have some advice for Western executives who may be getting ready to travel to India for the first time? And how should they prepare? How can they make their trip and their travel most productive and most successful?
I felt that my travels to India were very successful, and I give Amritt's support a lot of credit for that. My advice would be to have a partner organization that can help, in effect, host you and guide you. Choice of hotels can be very important. Establishing transportation at your destination, helping identify which connecting airports you should use and which you might want to avoid. So that was very helpful. And then likewise, ensuring that the organizations that you're going to meet with also can help out with that.
Right. So let's talk about that a little further. You selected Amritt to be your advisor, and we worked with you for a number of years. Can you tell me a little bit about what made you select a third-party organization to guide you, and how other executives should choose an organization, whether it's Amritt or anyone else?
Sure. So we had put our toe in the water, so to speak, with working with a partner in India, but it became clear pretty quickly that we certainly weren't getting full value, that there was a lot more potential and some guidance, not just with this particular vendor, but with doing business in India overall, was going to be a big benefit for us, right? That we were committed to this strategy, and we really needed some help. So we talked with several different organizations, but we were impressed with Amritt's knowledge of the market, but also the degree to which Amritt really, I think, went above and beyond to be our partner. It wasn't just the obvious things. Consistently, Amritt over-delivered and didn't just answer our questions, but basically identified the questions we should be asking. So that was very helpful. One really important example is, we found that there were a lot of really entrepreneurial spirited people in India and a lot of smaller businesses. And of course, you can always choose the giants, plenty of those. You can choose a middle-sized company. And we were already partnered with probably a medium to smallish company.
Right.
But Amritt guided us to one of these entrepreneurial organizations. And that was very successful once we got past the early learning curve. Interestingly, this company was so eager to gain expertise and really deliver on their commitments. They actually built a video game arcade in their basement to support the vertical we were in. But later on, as this company grew, Amritt alerted us that they were becoming an acquisition target, and that the new owners, the vertical we were in was not part of their strategy.
Right.
And that information was invaluable. So that was part of the value add that we derived from our relationship with Amritt.
Right. That allowed you to find an alternate partner and be ready for the moment when the first one might have caused an issue by essentially terminating the relationship at some point in the future. So I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, on a personal level, I know that you are an avid astronomer and an avid photographer, and you always had your camera with you every time you traveled to India. So tell me a little bit about what you saw in India that surprised you. What you remember, what you might share with your friends if they ask you about going to India. Give us a little bit of a personal flavor of your time in India.
Sure, I'm glad you asked that. It was a very fulfilling trip on a personal level. It was very enjoyable. It was very rewarding to experience a culture that in some ways is similar to Western, but in many ways very different. The thing that struck me the most was how friendly and happy and engaging the people were.
Yeah.
Just everybody was willing to give you a smile, willing to chat with you, and just had this sense of friendliness. But on the other side, there was a tremendous amount of hustle bustle and energy in the cities. Traffic patterns are very different there than they are in America. I remember on one particular road, there were 3 marked lanes, and there must have been at least 8 vehicles side by side. And there was a bicyclist on the side of the road. And almost like a flock of, pardon?
We also saw the occasional elephant on the side of the road.
Yes, we did see the occasional elephant or ox cart.
Yeah.
But this whole 8 lanes, like a flock of birds that all operate in unison, all 8 lanes veered around this bicyclist as if they had a 6th sense. So that was really impressive to see.
Exactly. Yeah.
So enjoyed that a lot. Yeah. One humorous example was one of my hosts took me to a wild tiger park. And being a photographer, I was very excited. I was on a tour bus. I think I was probably the only Westerner on the bus. Everybody was friendly and interested and wanted to talk to me. But in any case, I had put my window down in order to get some photos of a tiger that was a ways off. And the driver, wanting to please, saw me trying to take the photo and immediately threw the bus into gear and drove right up to the tiger, to the point where he was probably about 5 feet below my open window.
Wow.
But it was very enjoyable and very exciting.
You got a nice tiger smile out of that tiger.
I did. I got a very nice, yeah. I think he was probably thinking about dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, not everything about working with India is smooth. And I want to hear from you, what was your primary challenge when you woke up in San Diego and thought about your Indian colleagues, partners working with you? What was the significant challenge in dealing with them?
So the physical distance does present some challenges. There is no substitute for being on site. And particularly as the relationship grows
Right.
and things change or
Yeah.
problems are encountered, those are important moments to be there.
Right.
Our partners did occasionally come to the United States to meet with me, but that's not the same as seeing the operations.
Right.
And so the physical distance has to be considered. Obviously, today travel is difficult, but once things are back to some flavor of normal, my expectation is that with my current set of partners, we will be back there several times a year.
Yeah.
And the other thing that goes along with physical distance is time zone differences, of course. And that can present challenges to set up meetings and phone calls and regular catch-ups. And then finally, look, English is a second language for people in India, and that can present challenges and obstacles as well. So it's important to make sure that you and your partner are speaking the same language, and that also presents cultural differences. So for example, one of the challenges we had is something as minor as how a date is transcribed. In America, we typically do month, day, year, and so we had sent the date that a build was going to arrive March 4th. But their interpretation of the way we had transcribed the date was that it was not coming until April 3rd. And so we had a pretty big disconnect and scramble on that. So there are small details like that that need to be ironed out.
Absolutely. And that's why we recommend to our clients now that they always write the date in the format where they spell out the month. So MAR for March and APR for April, so that there's less confusion about that. People are also confused about the half-hour time zone that India is 12 and a half hours or 13 and a half hours from Pacific time. And that's also a confusion, because it's one of the few countries that's not on an even hour time difference from the US.
Right.
Any other parting thoughts, Paul, about people wanting to do business in India or expand their business in India?
One humorous anecdote just to share. Women make up a very strong component of the workforce in India, and I certainly respect that. And we got wonderful results from all genders. But it was kind of funny because the bulk of our testers on a particular video game franchise that was considered very macho, the initials MK come to mind. The bulk of the testers were women, and they did a fantastic job. But we thought, well, gosh, given the crowd that's going to be playing this video game back in the States, we might not want to advertise the fact that it was mostly tested by women. So
yeah, exactly.
we kind of didn't make a big deal out of that fact.
I remember that. I remember taking some photographs and then saying, "Hey, these go nowhere beyond my camera." Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for sharing your insights and your experience with India. And I look forward to future conversations of this kind with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to talk with you.